Is the second part of our podcast, which we like to call Getting Athletic. So, as you know, Getting Athletic is all about sports, and having come from such a meaty, very serious and insightful section of around the world, now we're going to get into some fun, and the best place to start is with Leslie's choice. I'm not going to say whether it's a good or bad choice, but his choice of team. And in football, we know that this man is a very die-hard Red Devil. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the floor to Leslie just to give us a quick overview on what he's made of United's season thus far, the integration of a new manager, maybe some of the signings that they've made, and where he predicts the team going this season. So Les, let's start with the manager. Let's start with the appointment of Ten Hag. What do you think he has brought in, and have you seen kind of positive changes in his ideals for the team?
But yeah, so Ten Hag's come in. Like, I must be honest, being in America, I found it hard to watch as much football as I did before. But he looks good. He looks like he's brought his own style. The biggest thing is like he hasn't been afraid to make changes, I think. Sidelining Maguire, which I think's great, but the bigger one was sidelining Ronaldo. He seems to have done, which I also think is a good idea, but maybe I'll get some more resistance about that. But yeah, he looks good. I'm happy with the signings. Anthony has got the flair. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. Martinez looks great. Like, he's
he does.
playing
He
like
does.
the defender we needed. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. I must say, like, the only thing I really, because it's been so bad for us for so many years now that I'm still skeptical. Like, I'm still keeping my excitement down. So basically, the only thing I care about this season is how bad Liverpool have been doing. And like, if we finish above them, if they finish ninth, then that's a good season for
It
me.
all is
But
well in
like,
the world.
I do think we'll finish top four. That's my own
Okay.
biased opinion.
Okay. Fair enough. And are you one of those that are saying that you're focusing on your top six? Where? Well, let me ask you this: how many games are you able to actually watch because of the time difference? Like, are you okay to watch games that have already happened, or you just only want to watch live and you're keeping up with highlights and results?
Yeah, I'll just watch live games. I haven't watched. Do you generally watch replays?
Well, I've actually recently just started because sometimes there's games on at like 2 o'clock in the morning. If it's a
Yeah,
big
it's
game, I'll
definitely
wake
harder
up
for
for
me.
it. But I'll wake
Yeah,
up for a 2 a.m. game if it's a big game. Like I did, I woke up to watch
yeah.
us lose to Spurs last season. Oh, it was painful. But yeah, it hurts. But now I've actually recently started watching some of the games like after the fact, and it's actually quite nice. I never thought I would do it, but what's really cool about it is when you watch it cold, you know the result, so you're able to remove the emotion out of watching the game, and you're really able to just analyze what you're watching. Like, you know, when even if they're attacking, you know they're going to score, they're not going to score, and in that moment you can say, okay, what did the keeper do, or what did this guy do, or what did that guy do? So I'm actually enjoying that part of it. It can be a little bit time consuming, to be honest with you, but I don't know, man. Arsenal's so good this season. Look, we've not been that great the last three games have been quite tough for us, but we're so good this season that I don't mind watching and rewatching and that kind of thing. We're not all as
I think
lucky as
that
Tevin.
Probably the difference. Like, we still aren't playing well enough that I would be happy watching a replay.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
that's probably. But yeah, I don't have much of an excuse because, like, normally the earliest games here at 7 a.m., which, you know, it's not so bad.
Oh,
Um, so I watched the Chelsea game last week, and that was good. I think we played really well. Like, we totally
well, that's
dominated
kind of
the
what I
game.
wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you now. So, are you one of those that is there, like, okay, if you watch the Arsenal game, I don't know how you feel as a United fan. I would say that we were unfortunate to lose that game. I don't think it was a foul on Christian Eriksen. I think United did well to take the chances that they did. I think we played better, but obviously I'm an Arsenal fan, so I will say that. But are you one of those that's like United Trey on Twitter who's gassing United up because of this? Oh, we beat Man City 3-2 in the second half. Are you like one of those guys, or kind of what's your feeling on like the top six? I mean, let's remove the beginning, the shaky starts out the way, like Brentford and stuff like that. Let's remove that out of the way, because obviously it takes some time for a manager to implement what he feels. But I know that you're feeling with the top six. How would you analyze in terms of that? Is it about specific games, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I'm definitely not one of those fans who gas United up. Like, I'll be the first to admit that it's going to take a long time before we're anywhere close to where we were in the 2000s. But I don't know, this season does look good. I don't know if you remember, like, I think you mentioned chasing the sun in a previous episode.
Yeah.
And like when Russie came in, he spoke about like focusing on specific matches, like the match against New Zealand, all those things. And it probably isn't, but I hope that's what Ten Hag is doing. Because like against top six opponents, we've got 3 wins, a draw, and we were beaten by City. So like,
whacked.
If that's what he's thinking, like focusing on specific matches, get the confidence up, get the playing style right without worrying about winning or losing, I'd be happy with that. But I don't think it's like that, because that's not really how football works, I guess. Like,
yeah,
you expect it to perform straight away. You have to get top 4 straight away. Yeah, against Arsenal, we were good. You were good. Like,
it was a
yeah.
Fair. It was fair. It was fair. I will say.
I'm loving Arsenal now. I think you got a great team. I don't want to jinx anything, and you might hate me for saying this, but I think you've got a really good chance of winning the league. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm sorry.
Bookmark this. We're going to come back to that.
Well, then let's ask you, Tev, after your game yesterday against, who did you play? Leicester, who actually have managed to pull themselves together. I will admit they're looking a bit better now than they were at the start of the season. I don't think relegation will be a problem for them, to be honest, moving forward. But how do you feel yesterday, how without Haaland, like what happens? Like it took some magic from De Bruyne. You dominated, and I'd say you deserve to win, but give us your feelings on a game like yesterday.
There's a lot more reliance on Haaland, obviously. The man being the Nordic robot. Everything generally goes through him, and you really just need a final pass, and he'll likely be at the end of it. Man and game management. Game management wasn't a thing in that second half, man. There's so many chances that were given to Leicester. And I think had they started the game off as well as they ended the game, would have seen a different result. But, you know, during the course of a season, you just need a tough win. You need to scrape a win. You need to just get a dirty result, and that was it. It could be one moment of brilliance, like the De Bruyne free kick, whatever it is, grind out the win. So I'll take it. Lots of improvement that needs to be done. I think across the pitch, you get people that generally dip in form, and you see it. Like, I'll take Mahrez as an example of the past few weeks. Prior to the Dortmund game, when it was the leg before that, played Copenhagen, missed a penalty. In the Liverpool game, could have done something, and then the Dortmund game, missing a penalty again. So overall, I think it's just about man management from Pep's side and his entire team. So just ensuring that people are reminded of what's at stake. Also, being in the position, I think, of being second is probably a bit more encouraging than being at the top. So generally it's the other way around, where they're comfortable, they can walk a season. So it's nice to see City in a bit of I'm not even going to call it a trying position, but a position that they're not generally used to.
Yeah, and I think I will just say, I think I think it's a unique season in a lot of ways, because, well, it's unique because Arsenal's good. Let's start with that. That's unique. It's been a hot minute since we've been good, and I don't want to jinx it. I don't think we're going to win it, honestly. For me, what I'm looking at now is how winning these games is giving us the gap on our actual competitors for the season. When I see people dropping points, that's all that matters to me. I see Chelsea drop points, I'm like sick. When I see Liverpool drop points, I'm like sick. Those are the things that matter to me. But this is a super unique season with this Winter World Cup being where it is and how congested it's made the fixtures. So like now in October, I don't know about other teams, we had 9 fixtures. We haven't had 9 fixtures since the 70s. So, that's just for some context. So like, if you look at that kind of thing, and also the 5 subs coming in, I think it's a really good change for football. I really do. I think it's now it's not really about your starting 11, it's about minutes on the board. So I think the management is really starting to play a difference. But that Winter World Cup, I think, is making a huge thing. So like Tev is saying now, like you're saying about the City scenario, no team is going to come through this thing unscathed. I don't think. Yeah. I think having a bad game is different. It's hilarious that Virgil van Dijk can hold his Anfield victory thing beyond City and then lose it to Leeds. I think that just shows you kind of what's going on with that. But Les, I thought we could also quickly ask you one more question before we move on to the comparison question. With the World Cup coming up, what are your feelings? Who you vibing with? We don't have any squads yet, but I think we have a general feeling. I'll say I think Brazil's going to win. But Les, what you got? Who you got? Tell us. Who should we look out for? What's the things?
You guys don't understand how big a question that is for me. Because I will say this live on air. Well, it's recorded, but I will say this in front of all the fans that since 2014, I have predicted the winner of the World Cup before the World Cup started. I predicted Germany, I predicted France. I was on my grave saying that. So this is a huge thing for me. I have to make it 3 for 3. And I still
Having
don't know.
said that? Nah, you can't cop out. That's a cop out.
Give us such a big hold up and like, actually, I'm still thinking about it.
Okay, so I'll tell you, in 2019, after the 2018 World Cup, I said between Netherlands and Portugal. And
are you still sticking to that?
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, I expected, because it was when Ajax had that amazing season.
In the Champions League.
Champions League with Frankie de Jong, with De Ligt, with Van der Beek, with Depay. And I kind of expected them with Ten Hag, I will say. So I kind of expected them as a national team to build up these years. And then I don't think they were in Euros.
No.
I think they've had a great 2022. I think they're unbeaten this year. Portugal, I thought, because Jota and all those young guys were coming up, but they've kind of also faded.
Bruno Fernandes, you're probably gassing him up.
I think the favorites are Argentina. Like, everyone's saying Argentina, and I get that. Like, they've just won Copa America. Messi's got stuff to prove.
But what do you say?
They've got a young. I
see he's beating around the bush here, man. Okay, let's make it simple for you. Give us the top 4. So give us the top 4 who you think will be in the semis.
In no order.
Maybe a dark horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
France, Portugal, Argentina. I don't want to say England. I'm not going to say England. I can't say England. France, Portugal, Argentina, Brazil.
Okay.
Dark horse?
Oof.
Dark horse, Netherlands.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair
nice
enough.
One.
That's a pretty good assessment of teams there. Yeah. Honestly, I do see quite a few of those coming up. I think I read a tweet. It was in a week. They were a supercomputer, apparently an AI supercomputer, did the World Cup. They played through, and we had Portugal eliminate England in the semis, and it was a Portugal-Argentina final, and Argentina won it, apparently.
Yeah,
According
I've
to
seen
this,
like things
yeah.
that FIFA are like fixing it, so it's Portugal versus Argentina.
Like a Messi versus Ronaldo
Finally.
showdown.
Ronaldo, the GOAT showdown. I'd love to see that. That would be a great conclusion to.
This goes hand in
What
hand
has
with our
been.
conversation last week about these sports and how we can make them exciting. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're cooking it to make it look like that. But nah, Brazil. I'm telling you guys, Brazil. Watch out, boy. Watch out for Brazil. I'm just saying. I'm saying they're back. That's my prediction.
But I promise you'll have my final prediction before the actual thing begins. I have
Okay,
it.
we'll
Okay.
hold you to that. We'll hold you to that.
Did
So,
you guys see, just
listeners,
quickly
viewers,
before we move on, did you see that Spain has left De Gea out of their 55-man squad?
No way.
I did not. I did not.
They chose
That's
five
very
keepers
surprising.
five keepers ahead of him. 5 keepers are ahead of him according to the
Can't even
Spanish
name other
national
five
team.
other Spanish keepers.
You're number one.
So that's saying a lot, man. Jeez. Don't forget, guys, we will be doing an in-depth special for the World Cup.
Yep.
Before it all kicks off. So just be vigilant for that. I think one other question. I think we want to ask you, Liz, was having been in the UK and now the US, have you had a chance to go and see any MLS games? And if so, what is the vibe like? So not necessarily just the football, but the entire experience of going to a game in UK versus US.
Yeah, so I've been to one MLS game. I went last year. I saw Atlanta United versus Toronto. And maybe an indication of how it went is I don't even remember the score. I've been to 2 Premier League games, and I remember who scored both, who scored and the final goal of both those matches. Yeah, in terms of the football itself, no comparison. Like MLS wasn't anything to write home about. I think Atlanta United specifically is known for like having quite a good supporter base. So I must say there was a bit of a vibe with like drums beating, but it didn't feel like authentic. It like felt borrowed from Turkey or wherever they saw their
Okay.
videos of how supporters should behave.
Icelandic clap. Like sensationalist kind of stuff. More than anything.
Like very unauthentic, ungenuine. Like
Okay.
felt very borrowed. And you can like sense the lack of like US soccer culture.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we touched on this last week where we were saying, so in some of the matches that we've seen in the MLS, you see a lot of fanfare and entertainment value, which isn't necessarily all centered around the game. So say there's pyrotechnics or something that's happening before the game starts. or
Maybe
when a goal
shooting
is scored,
T-shirts in the
yeah,
crowd,
like,
that kind of stuff.
confetti cannons, T-shirts, that kind
Good
of thing.
food.
Did you see some of that? Because we know like US sports are big on the pre-game. We know. So for NFL, there's the tailgating that happens outside the stadium. It's like barbecuing outside the stadium,
Yeah.
people in their shirts, and everyone's getting hyped before the game. Did you see some of those elements before the Atlanta game?
There was definitely like fanfare from the organizers. I think soccer here is different from the other sports in that there really isn't like much of a culture here. So I've definitely seen that sort of stuff for the other sports, but not so much for the MLS and not so much for soccer.
Well, then
Yeah.
maybe what you can do then is, from what you've observed since you've been there. So if you listen to the previous 2 episodes, I've been watching some NBA, and I know obviously met more Americans here, so I speak to them a little bit about NFL. I've watched a little bit. It's actually a very cool game. Baseball, I don't watch cricket, so I'm not going to watch baseball. But how do you feel? Like, what is the kind of like American sport culture like surrounding things? Like, I mean, you've got the Atlanta Hawks there. Ice Trey himself is there. So, like, what's kind of your observation just on maybe not what's the most important sport in the US, or you can touch on that, but just like what is it? Is it very American centric, or how is that climate?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a strong like sporting culture here in general. Like my social group where I'm at is not really into sports, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But I think quite important is like changes where you are in the country. So being in Georgia, being in the South, football is 100% king. Like,
Okay.
and it surprised me, but that's cross-racial lines. Like everyone loves football here, completely football crazy. Uh, Atlanta itself has a big black population, and basketball is big, but like basketball maybe doesn't cross racial lines as
The
much
way
as
football does,
football,
yeah.
I would say, which I found quite interesting. And then baseball, I think it's big, but the Atlanta Braves won the World Series last season, which was my
Uh,
big sporting event since I've been here. So maybe much of the excitement has been because of that. But yeah, I think it changes when you're in the country. I would say football is the biggest everywhere, but
yeah.
definitely in the South.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
You went to the
Nice.
And
MLS, the World Series game, you said?
no, 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 no. I just saw
Oh, you just felt
videos
the
and
hype
people
there.
were
Just
excited on the
okay.
streets.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's
But
pretty
I,
cool.
I
Did you?
do two observations about American sports and
Let's go.
like your thoughts about these. So the first observation is actually a quiz question. So I found this thing of in each state, the highest paid public employee, okay, in 40 out of 50 of the states, the highest paid public sector employee performed the same job. What do you think that job was? So, like governor would be a public
Mm.
employee, a statistician general, doctor general, attorney general, sheriff, all
So
those like
two positions are getting paid exactly the same thing, is what you're saying?
no, no. I'm saying in 40 out of 50 of the
Oh, there's
state
one position that gets paid the same or the highest.
The highest.
highest, yeah.
Yeah. I'd
So
say
Oh,
governor
what
probably.
job is paid the
yeah.
highest?
I would say governor or like whoever
Something
leads
in
like
politics.
yeah, something like that.
So the answer is the college football coach. Is the
What?
highest paid public employee. So my
Jeez.
first
Wow.
observation is like we don't understand how big college sports are. Like
Yeah. You know, like
I
March
would say
Madness and
even
that kind of thing, but
yeah, this college football is huge. Like I would say even bigger than the professional sports is college sports. Like University of Georgia won the national whatever last year, and like the whole city just stopped. Like it was a
wow.
huge thing. So definitely college sports is important in American sports. And then my
Uh-huh.
second observation is because like in all the sports you have a regular season and a postseason. And because you don't have relegation or promotion or qualification to the Champions League
Yeah.
or something, I think the fact of the matter is like 90% of the games in the regular season just don't matter. Like
Mm.
I've heard it said about basketball a few
Yeah.
times that they're just
Does
too
yeah, makes
games you can't follow. So
yeah.
like at the beginning of the season, people have an idea who the strongest teams are, and they keep an eye on them. And if they start slipping up, there's still a big chance that they'll be fine. But you
Yeah.
keep an eye on them, and then you keep an eye towards the end of the regular season to see who will play who. But
And then there's the
besides
playoffs.
that, like most of the games don't matter. And then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
postseason is when like everyone focuses, everyone pays attention. So that's
Okay.
been exciting for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I think those two things that you just told us, the first one, I think it's quite cool that maybe not that they're the highest paid, like, state employee or whatever you call it, but maybe it's an indication that perhaps that there's a focus in the right space in terms of like youth. And, I think that's quite nice. Maybe if you want to look at it like that. And the second observation you made, 100%, I can tell you, like, even the people that I speak to and what I see. Like, these games don't matter. And maybe that's why fantasy football and fantasy basketball are so big, because it's kind of like it draws in and holds that interest throughout the duration of the season. I know, like, the MLS baseball, fantasy baseball, that goes over years, my man. Like, you draft a rookie now for your team in 4 years. I've heard people that do that. That's the kind of commitment you're talking about fantasy here. I mean, I know I'm at the top of the the Greenside Cup at the moment, but I don't know if I could commit to 4 or 5 years of this thing, if you know what I'm saying. But that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's big pull in that. I don't know if it was recent or previously, where NFL, especially for fantasy NFL, they do like a full-on promo, which is pick me, and then they'd showcase what their talents are. So if I'm a quarterback, I'm going to throw it like a K away from a linebacker. I'm going to jump through cars, open windows, kind of thing. So very exaggerated things, but again, it builds the interest.
Point, actually. Fantasy is big here. Like, I've seen a lot of that stuff.
Okay, well, I think that's a very, very good spot to wrap that up. Les has given us all the context on US sport, and we do appreciate that. And if you have only dropped in for this section, remember, we do all the things. We share the love, we like, we comment. All the fans that Leslie has brought in, make sure you subscribe into the channel. We're doing all the nice things, and we will see you for section 3.